huge thank you to people for all the cool swag I've been getting recently. I'll tell you that. I got this t-shirt and a couple other t-shirts and a couple hats from the Round Rock Express. They're a minor league team near Austin, Texas. And I think the story I heard was that they were paying homage to Texas barbecue. So they changed the name of the team for a short while to the Round Rock Briskets. And so I got all these dope hats that say like the Round Rock Briskets on it. I'll be wearing them on these episodes quite frequently over the next couple months. So you'll get to see those. But thanks, man. I really appreciate you guys sending that to me. They're awesome, man. I've already been rocking them a ton. And I've gotten some hot sauces from a couple people. There's a comic up in Oregon. There's a funny dude named Carl sent me a couple hot sauces. And Add a Sauce was another comedian who sent me some sauce. And I'll bring them to you. He sent me a ton. I'll bring you some, Luis. Okay.
All right. I'll be waiting.
They're really good. And so just shout out to those guys, man. I really appreciate it. And Shinedown. Are you a Shinedown fan?
Yeah, I get it over Nowcast. Yeah. Watch your back. Oh yeah.
Shinedown has their own hot sauce now too, and it's really good. We should do a sauce day. So I'll just bring all the sauces I have in my cabinet. We should just go through all the sauces.
You don't got to tell me twice.
Yeah, I like
it. I'll wear my stretchy pants.
It's coming. So anyways, guys, thank you to everyone who's been coming out to shows. Go to my website, davewilliamsoncomedy.com. See if I'm touring near you soon. And also while you're there, you can buy some of my Meet Dave all-purpose seasoning and rub. I got to tell you, I'm super excited because I've been selling this for a while. And for whatever reason lately, I've been getting so many positive messages and people have been, a lot of influencers have been cooking with it and tagging me in it. And it just seems like I'm getting a little traction lately with people really falling in love with the Meet Dave spices here.
Right.
So yeah, that's exciting, man. So appreciate y'all for supporting and for buying my rubs. I sell them on the website, davewilliamsoncomedy.com, and after shows. I got Key West coming up soon. That's going to be fun. The Key West Invitational Barbecue and Fishing Tournament. And I will be doing shows while I'm there at Comedy Key West. So come out and see me if you're down in that area. And let's get into today's episode. I did a really cool event a couple of weeks ago. I was in Austin doing shows. I opened up for Bert, and then I did my own show at Cap City Comedy Club. Thank you to everyone that came out. And then I went and met some barbecue buddies down in Mejia, I think it's called. It's a small town in Texas. And I went on a hog hunt for a few days, and we just cooked a bunch of food, and we did content, and we'll explain it more in this episode. But this is one of the guys I met there, and just really enjoyed talking to him, enjoyed his story, enjoyed his product, and definitely going to be a friend moving forward, and had a lot of great insights about being a pig farmer, a great story about it that I really enjoyed hearing over some bourbons one night. So asked him to come on, and I think you guys are going to enjoy him too. So please, guys, meet Jay DeSimone. You know how much we love Bear Mountain Barbecue wood brands around here. It's the only pellet I will put into my smoker. And right now, through July 22nd, they have a deal going on 3 of their flavors. They got a ton of different flavors that you can choose from. But now, through July 22nd, their Chef's Choice, their Butcher's Blend, and the Chop House blends, they're rolling the price back from $11.97 to $9.97. So save a few bucks because it's grilling season. It's getting warmer outside. You guys are going to be firing up those smokers more than ever, and this adds up. So you can go to Walmart or shop online at walmart.com and get a deal, take advantage of this. And go to bearmountainbarbecue.com. I don't know if you've checked that out. It's a great resource. You can learn how to pair pellets with different foods, cooking styles. They've got a lot of info, times and levels of heat and the smoke that you want to shoot for. There's recipes, grilling tips, the whole 9 yards. bearmountainbarbecue.com. Go check out Walmart or walmart.com. Get these deals before they're gone. It's going to be going on through July 22nd. I think that natural starting point is definitely, we got to talk about the trip where you and I met. That was
absolutely
one of the most epic things I've ever been a part of. Fair to say. And I've been part of some pretty epic stuff, dude.
This farm has brought me to some incredible things, incredible people. And I would say, that was the echelon of what I've experienced with this farm. It was, it's hard to explain.
Yeah. Well, I guess the best way to explain it is that somehow it came up with this really cool hunting club. Is that what you would call it? Or hunting property in in Texas, which you're based in Texas. It wasn't not a far drive for you, right? I just happened to be in Texas doing shows that weekend. I was in Austin, and a few weeks before, Ty Sherrill, Texas Brew and Barbecue.
Yeah.
Who's a barbecue buddy of mine. He's been on the podcast before. He hits me up and says, "Hey man, I'm going on a hog hunt with some other barbecue guys." And he listed off like, Malcolm Reed and Jody from Rec Tech and Mark from Swine Life and like all guys I know, all buddies of mine. I'm like, dude, that sounds so fun. And he's like, it's going to be the 20th to the 22nd in this, random place in Texas. And I go, dude, I know for a fact I do not have any weekends open over the next few months. I go, sucks. I would really like to go on. He goes, no, it's weekdays. And I look and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be in Texas already. So
that's perfect.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm in. And it was really cool. So the idea was that these the people who run the hunts there wanted to do something cool, wanted to make some cool content, wanted people to experience what they do. And so they brought in these barbecue guys and we got it. A couple different companies donated we got the smokers there and the materials and the proteins, which is where you come in. And we just cooked. We just cooked and filmed and went hunting and had camaraderie and hung out. And I said it when we did a group podcast there. And I'll say it again now for people that I don't think that episode, this will be out before that one. But one of my favorite points of the whole weekend was the first night sitting up, drinking bourbon with you, who you were someone I did not know before going there. Yeah. And just hearing your story, man. I thought your story was so great. Thank you. I appreciate it. Actually, I'm very fond of that night actually myself. Funny, like we were all in the school bus. And, they bought a school bus to drive us around, Luis, because we had so many people out there hunting. Really? Yeah. They didn't want to have like 4 buggies. Yeah. So they bought a school bus to drive us around the hunting property. And
best field trip I've ever heard.
And trust me, it was awesome. It felt like I was in a militia for sure. Like it was just a bunch of dudes loading into a field bus with ARs in our hands. It's probably the most hillbilly I've felt in a long time. Yeah. And I'm a farmer, so but I remember Jeff being like, "Hey man, we're all getting off the bus." He's like, "We're going back out and we're not going to be back till anywhere from like 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. And I'm like, I'm out. Yeah. I'm getting some sleep. And then we end up staying up in the kitchen and they come walking back in at 3:30. Yeah. And we're up, polishing off a bottle of bourbon. So go figure. Yeah. When they said we might, if they had said we'll be back at 2, I would have probably gone back out that night. But when they said it could be as late as 4 a.m., I go, I can't do 4 a.m. tonight, dude. I'll be wrecked for the rest of the week, man. Yeah. So and then we did, and then we did, and then we stayed up till 4 a.m. Anyways. You're right. Yeah. But hey, it is what it is. Yeah. I that was an awesome night. My buddy Scott, the Chi-Tex barbecue guy. Yeah. He was the one that got me involved in that hunt barbecue fest. We've been with each other a couple of times since the event, and that night, whatever night that was that Monday night, Tuesday night? It all runs together. Yeah, I think it was Monday. It was the first weekday night. Yeah. A lot of fun. Well, just a lot of fun. And so as you mentioned, you're a farmer, and you brought some pork with you from your farm that we cooked, and I'm not exaggerating. We'll get more into it throughout this interview, but some of the best pork I've ever had in my life. It was not just that it was like, I'm not saying that as like, oh, it was like, like obviously it was fresh and it came from your farm, and I'm sure it was like well cared for pigs and all that kind of stuff, but also the genetics of those pigs are very special. It's a very specific breed of pig, which I had never experienced before. And it was just so unique and rich and delicious. Yes, it's so we raise them. It's called the Mangalitsa. Yeah, it's originally from Hungary. Originally bred in, I believe it was the 17th century.
It's the oldest heritage breed pig in the world. It didn't hit the United States till somewhere between 15 and 20 years ago when people started importing it. We came across it not that long ago. We're coming up on 5 years of doing this.
Yeah.
And it's to say it's been life-changing is an understatement, particularly for me. My wife does still work in corporate America, and we would love to get her full-time on the farm and some other stuff that we're doing. But this pig it's genuinely changed my life. And I say this often, every event that I've ever been on that's similar to what we just did.
Yep.
I come away with it with this perspective of like, listen, I only raise pigs. I raise pigs, and this pig has put me in front of like some different people, different classes of people, and different demographics, and it's been an amazing experience, all because of a pig.
Well,
right now it's a special pig.
Yeah.
Right? You ate it, and it was incredible. I mean, you remember you ate. Who did you eat? Ginger.
Yeah. I don't like knowing the names. I've got no problem being a meat eater, but I don't want to know their names and what their hobbies were. Maybe their relatives that miss them. Like I could go without that.
So that was a joke, by the way. Like.
Yeah, but
she did not have a name, or he. I don't know what pig it was at this particular point.
Well, my dad one time when I was a kid got drunk at an auction with his buddies and bought an entire butchered cow. And when they sent the cow to our house all butchered up, they included a photo of the cow with the little girl who from 4-H or whatever that raised it, hugging the cow and giving the cow's backstory. And I was like, we can't eat these burgers.
It's the way I look at it is that someone has to do this.
Yeah.
And and I'm a hunter, right? I mean, I've hunted for close to 30 years now. And it's different. It's not the same. Mm-hmm. There is definitely like a connection that we get with these animals around here. They all have personalities. Many of them do have names. I'm not gonna lie to you. I do name some of them, and those are usually my breeders. But they all have personalities, and there is some emotion that gets tied up in these animals. On slaughter day, it would, and I call it freezer camp. When we go to freezer camp, there is some emotion there. We're not numb to the fact that we've raised animals to slaughter.
Yeah.
And I guess typically what I usually like to say is, I aim for these animals to have one bad day in their life. And from birth to slaughter, we want that to be as comfortable on these animals as possible. We want them to be happy. We want them to be well fed, well watered, well conditioned. And I mean, in the end, that you get a better product out of it.
Well, and that's what you were telling us on the trip. You were explaining that not only is that the humane thing to do, but also it creates a better product. How the animal was treated throughout its life.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you get down to the biology of any animal, us included, it's the product's going to be better, the meat's going to be better, the less cortisol and the less adrenaline that's constantly running through this animal. So we aim to feed. We grow these things for 18 months, which is far different than what you do in commercial swine facilities. You might be growing an animal for 4 months. So we have a very mature aged animal. And over that 18 months, we are aiming to feed them at the exact same time every single day. And what that does is it relieves them of stress. If we feed them every day at 2 and all of a sudden it's 8 o'clock and they're sitting there looking around like, am I getting fed today?
Yeah.
They do. They'll get stressed out. And I'll be honest, occasionally it happens, right? Like, man, I get pulled away from the farm and I don't have my farm hand to help me. And those are the days that, honest to God, pigs get out. They get out of their pens or they break through their hot wires. And because they get stressed, they get nervous and they go and they start seeking more food.
Yeah.
Same with water, right? Like I'll be damned if like a water bin ever goes dry. right? So we're constantly cleaning our waters. Waters are always full. If you're an animal, you should not have to worry about food, water, shelter, good grass to lay in, good sun to be under. It's imperative.
Yeah, it's like Club Med over there for pigs.
Yeah. Yes. It's fun, man. It's a different lifestyle than what I lived before this. I definitely want to get into that for sure. Yeah.
But just a closing point on that though, when I learned something as you were explaining all that to the guys, because I didn't know that, like, obviously an animal's diet and an animal being stressed out like affects the product when you eat it, but. Yeah. They were talking about it in a specific situation where they were cooking a whole hog for a competition. And, in a competition, man, it's the nitty gritty, the best of the best of what might make this guy a winner versus this guy a winner. And the person he was buying hogs from, the hogs were too big. And he was like, no, I need the hog to be smaller. And so he just, you were saying that what the guy probably did was probably just like starve the hog a little bit towards the end of its life, which will stress it out, which will cause it to not, taste as good on competition day.
As you're saying that, I do recall that. I think he was saying that they were like, he had a bunch of pigs that were like in that 300-pound range, and he needed pigs that were like in the 250. So the guy's like, we'll make it happen. Well, I mean, for a pig to lose 50 pounds in like a couple months, I mean, that's drastic, I mean, I would love to lose 50 pounds in a couple of months. Don't get me wrong, but like, if you're doing that to an animal, that's a drastic change to them, and it's stress. Yeah. It's stress on them. So I learned this. I learned it a couple ways, and I've seen and heard varying people speak about it. But my father-in-law, actually, who runs like feedlots and stuff, he is the one that kind of put it in my head. He's like, our cows, and he's got, they're huge. It's like 20,000 animals, right? He's like, our cows get fed on the exact same time every single day, and I'm religious about it, And he kind of got that in my head. And then we met a really good chef out of Michigan, who is really famous for like salamis and stuff, because we do a whole line of salami. So we donated a couple pigs to an event that he was doing, and he was butchering the pigs in front of us. And he was pointing out how he could tell that our pigs had low stress levels. And he was looking at different glands and stuff. And he's like, you see how clear this gland is? I know that this pig has not had any stress in its entire life because of this. And because of this. And it was really, really interesting perspective to see and to hear when you have someone who's so knowledgeable of it to point stuff out like that to you. And that was pretty awesome to like kind of like a just a confirmation of what you're doing is good.
I wonder if that's kind of what's going on with me today, because we were supposed to have a bourbon today when we did this, and I pussed out on you because I got a sports massage yesterday, and my glands were now, so all my glands were my lymph nodes, and so it dehydrates you. Then I hit the Peloton, and then I had a show at a brewery last night, and I was like, no, I probably shouldn't have any beers because I'm dehydrated and I'm drinking water. And next thing I know, I have several beers. And it's my fault. I'm sorry. And I have an audition today for a role that it's my fault if I don't book it. Luis, I have an audition today for Best Buy.
Ooh, okay.
And the role,
awesome.
All right, mind you, normally the roles I go out on are just like funny guy in the office or, whatever,
sure.
dad on Christmas morning, things like that. The role today is for a guy named Charlie, and the description says, Charlie is definitely inviting you to his barbecue, and the food's going to be delicious, but you have to hear about his new smoker for the 10th time. Then he's going to show you his outdoor TV and his lawnmower that runs by itself. And I'm like, I better book this.
That sounds natural. I mean, it's like everyday life for you, isn't it?
100%. And I'm going to say, I bet Charlie's a little hungover. So maybe I'm just method acting.
I know that feeling all too often. I mean, heck, from that event, I might still be hungover from the hunting and barbecue event.
Yeah, the rest of the week was definitely. So I was in the airport for like 8 hours that day too, and I was just awful. I was on standby trying to get earlier flights, and I'm like, should I just give up on standby so I can just go sit in the lounge and just hang out and chill and get work done? And I
maybe
didn't.
nod off a couple times.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So let's go back and tell me how you got into this. How did you become a farmer?
Holy smoke! How much time do we have?
All the time in the world, buddy.
I think every first generation farm that I think I've been associated with through friends and people we've met always starts with kind of the ringing theme, which is my wife wanted to do this ...
Yeah.
And I really, I give her a little bit of hell for it, but a lot of credit because we are in Dallas. We lived in Dallas, and now we're about 40 minutes south of Dallas in a rural town that's becoming a little less rural called Waxahachie.
Yeah.
So when we moved down here, we originally bought 13 and a half acres ish. Nice house on land, and we just wanted to get out of the city. We have two boys. At the time, they were like 6 and 3. Now they're 9 and almost 6. And we just wanted to get out of Dallas. So we got this land, we got this house, and we immediately thought, like, what can we do? And my wife started talking like homesteading and stuff like this. And I was in it.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, yeah, if you want to do that, let's go. But I had a corporate job.
I was gonna say you were working in corporate America at that time. She was.
Yeah,
she was talking about doing all this just for recreation.
Yes, this was homesteading to like kind of more or less provide for ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. And so like I'll take myself back to those days, and I was a lot more trusting, I guess. I was trusting in like the system, right? Let's call it that. And this is pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So my wife's talking about like homesteading and growing gardens and providing for ourselves. And I'm looking around like, we make enough money where we don't need to do this.
Yeah. We shop at Whole Foods.
Stores.
We're fine.
We have grocery stores right here, HEB's 10 minutes away. So, and at the same time, I was a GM for a packaging company and honestly, I hated it. I have an MBA in finance from SMU in Dallas. And I just, like, I was in the business world and I hated it. And I think I said this on that podcast that we're doing there, where it was like, I used to like wake up Sunday morning and go into depression. Like, the weekend's over. I got to go back to work tomorrow. I'd sit in the office and it'd be, kind of like a slow day or whatever. I'd be head in my hand being like, I got to do this for how many more years? 30 more years? I don't know if I could do it. So as this farm kind of started developing, we quickly realized, the first 3 pigs show up, right? Like my wife goes, my wife's thing is like, she approaches me and goes, so, and right then I know I need to sit down and probably get a drink. And she's like, what do you think about raising pigs? And my initial thought, I don't remember my response, but I do remember my initial thought very well, which was, that's a horrible idea. Pigs smell. I like my property. I like the idea of living on a farm, but I don't want to feel like I'm living on a farm.
Yeah. Also sounds like a lot more work than just like an herb garden.
Yes. And, well, if anybody's ever met my wife, that when she comes up with that idea, she's been thinking about it for 3 months and she's already made the decision.
Yeah, she's just informing you.
Right. It's like, she may not tell me they're coming, but I know they're coming. So the first 3 pigs come, and they're from like a backyard breeder in like San Antonio or something like that. And immediately I was like, wow, these they're pretty damn cute. They were little piglets. They were probably 10 weeks old.
God, I want one so bad.
I'll get you one. I know a guy. And so
my wife is not your wife. Trust me. She is not going to be okay. I've tried to talk to her a million times where I go, babe, and I know that there's no such thing as a pygmy pig or a little rump, like a teacup, they call them.
Right.
So if people don't realize, that's not a real thing. Every now and then there might be a runt of a litter that never grows, but you can't like get something and you're just buying a baby pig and it's going to turn into a big pig at some point.
Yeah. Eventually, even like the pot bellies and stuff, all those breeds, they eventually get to 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Like this is what it is, So yeah, these pigs showed up and I think, the biggest thing for me is that they showed up. We put them in the backyard, and we built this like little circle pen for them. And my two sons absolutely loved them. So I'm like, how am I going to argue with that?
Yeah.
So I learned how to.
Were these the Mangalitsa, or these were just pigs?
Yes, these were Mangalittas. These were our first 3 Mangalittas. And again, they're like 10 weeks old probably. So my sons get these, and then about at the same time, I wish I knew where we bought it from. We ended up buying some pork chops online from another Mangalitsa farm, I think up in like Colorado or Montana or something like that. So these pork chops come over, we go to our friend's house, and my friend's like, hey, let me cook them, because he prides himself on, he knows how to cook pork, and I agree with it. Most people overcook pork. Yeah. And so he cooks it, and my first bite was a lot like probably what a lot of the guys at this event, at the barbecue and hog hunt event, experienced was, holy smokes, this is not your grocery store pork. This isn't even close. This is something completely different, and I can't even explain it. So from there, I was very like into the idea of expanding this and growing our own food. And then I really don't even know how it evolved into like, let's go from our 3 pigs to what we have now.
That's a powerful pork chop. When you go from being okay with having a few pigs as a pet to trying a pork chop and going, we got to breed these pigs.
We got to get more, we need a bour now,
You ate a pork chop so good that you went into your boss on Monday and said, I quit. I'm becoming a pig farmer.
Man, I wish I could say that this is exactly how it went, but, that would have been ideal. But we the funny thing is we ended up finding, and then you get on Facebook and you start joining like the Mangalitsa community on Facebook. And most of those people are very much, I'd say 99% of them are backyard homesteading people that just want a good pig. So we ended up finding I think 12 or 11 of them up in Iowa, and there was a husband and wife that were getting divorced, and they were selling their herd. And like we saw a post that she posted, and she wanted like X dollars, and he wanted like
a lot more.
No, like a third of what she wanted.
He just wanted. Okay. He wanted out.
He just wanted to get. He just wanted out. She wanted to recover costs. Blah blah blah. So we ended up on like messenger chats with both of them at the same time, and they're like arguing with each other while we're like Amber and I, my wife Amber and I are texting them or messaging them both. And finally, and this was like a Sunday night, and I said, I grabbed the phone and I said, "Listen, guys, I'm willing to. I'm leaving Tuesday. I'll be there Wednesday." But I need some type of amicable agreement between you two that this is what I'm going to pay for them. And when I think when she realized that we were serious, she said, okay, that's fine. I'll give you 10 of them. She wanted to keep one because she had never had the meat. Yeah. So sure enough, Tuesday morning, I leave town, and I get the Iowa. Tuesday night, I stay in a hotel. I'm at the farm Wednesday at like 8 a.m. So this is funny. I am on the way to the farm with a livestock trailer, about to load up 10 pigs. By yourself? By myself. Yeah. I took vacation. I took vacation from work, and I am watching YouTube videos on my drive on these rural roads on how to load pigs into a trailer.
Man, everything's on YouTube now, dude.
So I'm like, this shouldn't be that hard, and it turned out it kind of was. It turns out they have a mind of their own. Yeah. And what I thought was going to be like 20 minutes took, 3 or 4 hours. But it ended up happening. And
so like you're herding one on, and then while you're herding another one on, do they come back off again, or like? Yes.
It's just like one gets on, the other gets on, pushes the other off, and so here we'll go right back to stress and adrenaline levels. Like you can't push these things. You can't push them, like, particularly the Mangalitsa. You just can't push them and put stress on them. You need to let them do their thing on their own. So we were trying to push them. Me and this gal that we bought the animals from. We were trying to push them and kind of move them and get it over with as soon as we can. Well, next thing you know, we had pigs running around all over the place. So I said to her, let's just put feed in the trailer and let's just let them do their thing. And eventually, we had all 10 in the trailer, and we had one more to load. We had a boar that I had to load. And we had a mid gate. We closed them in the front of the trailer. The boar comes out. He literally like starts eating grass and just lays down in front of the trailer. And, and he's huge. He's like 450 pounds. Yeah. He's like, I'm not going anywhere, So that took another hour or so to get him in. But then we got him in, closed him. I paid the gal. I'm driving down the road and I immediately called my wife, and it was thrilling. It was such a different experience than what I was used to. Yeah. I grew up in Chicago, business families, not anything to do with farming. I started hunting in college, and I always really loved. I started fishing when I was for a walk. Yeah. Always loved being outside. Started hunting in college, and I knew I wanted to be outside more often. And this was so thrilling for me when I loaded these animals because it was so foreign. I called my wife, and I really think if memory serves me right, I was screaming into the phone, I'm a farmer, because it felt.
I farm. I put pigs in trailers. Not everyone could do that.
Right. Yeah. That's right. It's similar to what was that movie with Tom Hanks, Castaway? He's I made fire.
I thought you were Lieutenant Dan on top of the boat. That all you got, God.
I think I pulled him into the house, now the farm, at 1 a.m. And I had the Monday before, I had built a fence. Mm-hmm. And I was so proud of my fence. I'd never done that before.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling. Yeah.
I was like, I built a fence. I got waters in there for them, and I got a place for the boar, and I got a place for all the girls. This is fantastic, and I think then we kind of go into a business perspective, right? So this pig takes 18 months to grow. If we were to take those piglets, buy a boar, we can't breed those piglets till they're 12 months old. And then after 12 months, they got 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days of gestation. Piglets come out. I got 18 months. Now I can finally butcher. Now I can finally start selling this stuff. Well, man, that's a long cycle from start a business, Yeah. So we bought these animals, and we were able to start butchering in 3 weeks, or not 3 weeks, 3 months. And then we got into farmers markets. We got our website up and going. And there's bumps in the road for all of this, Yeah. I mean, anybody who's run a small business understands that those bumps in the road happen. And it just took off, and here we are.
And so so people, it sounds like a natural spot here. Never a wrong time to plug. They can go to, I'm looking up the website. What's the website? They can go and buy.
It's 840farm.com.
There you go. Very easy.
Yep. 840farm.com.
And they can also follow you on Instagram, 840_farm.
Yep.
And I need to get that friends and family promo code from you, because I definitely want to get some of these pork chops and cook them up for my buddies. That's for sure.
We'll get together on text.
Yeah.
And I'll get your address, and we'll get you something out to you.
So how long ago was that? You said it was 5 or 6 years ago?
No, not even that long. That was right before COVID. And actually, you know what? It was kind of right when COVID started.
What a perfect timing to pivot into something new, and then not just be sitting home figuring out how to do your job on Zoom, but to be hey, you know what you can do, whether there's a pandemic or not a pandemic, you can farm.
Yeah. Yes. My wife and I talk about that all the time. COVID, when it first started, I feel for, I know people lost lives, and a lot of people were sick, and it really caused hell for a lot of people. And and I'm not trying to discount that at all. I understand, there was a lot of hardship for a lot of people. But looking back on it, it couldn't have been better for us.
Totally.
I started working from home, a job that I hated. And I ended up losing my job, right? Like I lost my job, COVID, the company was kind of consolidating things and they eliminated my position. And I'll be honest, I'll say this now, here we are 4 years later from when that happened. I made that decision easy for them because I enjoyed the farm so much that I was working a lot more out here than I was on my regular job.
Sure.
And at this point, I don't have a problem saying that. I liked it that much. So when that was eliminated, I was a little bit irritated. I'll be honest. At first, I was a little bit irritated, maybe even pissed off. Okay. And my wife, being as awesome as she is, she put together this email for me like, hey, welcome to your first day on the job at 840 Farm. And she put together, like, she created a new email address from us. Here's your password. Here's your username, blah, blah, blah. And like, all right, great. And that made me feel like a lot more relaxed.
Yeah.
And then we, like I said, farmers markets rolled around and we just kind of took off. And the first farmers market, I'll never forget how like stressed out we were. We both went to it and it was like, man, we were tired for like a week after. Yeah. It's just like, it's 4 hours, but you're pouring your heart and soul into this and you're nervous as all get out, and then here you are, handing meat to people and you're sending them out into the world. And you're just praying to God that they like it.
Yeah. Or that they don't screw it up.
Right. Or they don't screw it up or they,
That would be my problem is every single person who bought one, I'd be like, hey man, just when you cook it, like you should do it this, like, don't just like overcook. Like, what? I'm like, what day do you want to eat? I'll come over and cook it for you. Like
for sure. Yeah. We actually handed out like,
and if we're being fair, you did that a little bit on the trip. Like there were these world-class pit masters and chefs there, and I saw you once or twice being like, "Hey guys, you know how I like it? Salt and pepper." Like like, oh, you're injecting what into it? Oh, yeah, that could be good. Like,
not what I would do, but okay, you be you.
These are some of the best pit masters on it, and you're like,
Mark, it'll be fun. Mark from Swine Life Barbecue. He was the one that I was kind of giving. And I'll be honest, like some of that is like kind of my demeanor, like I'm a bigger guy and I have been for my whole life. And I've always kind of used that like to kind of push people a little bit. Like I dare you to say something back, but I did trust him and I hope he caught like some of the humor, because obviously when we got done cooking that whole shoulder and then obviously that whole copa that he did, it was so good.
Yeah. Everything was
so
amazing.
good. And what sucked was the second night when Ty and Jody cooked the other shoulder, when they all went out hunting, that shoulder was still on the Rectech at the time.
Yeah.
And I was exhausted from the night before because obviously you kept me up all night, drinking and stuff, and I did that myself, and I didn't even get to try it. Like we woke up, like Scott and I woke up next morning and getting loaded up, and he's like, "Dude, it's all gone. Like they ate the whole thing."
No, let me fill you in on what happened there. I was helping Jody with that. And we made
That's right. You were. I'm sorry. I apologize. That was you.
That's all right. And we specifically tried to just put some rub on it, and that we scored it up, put some rub on it, and that was it. Because we knew what Mark's came out like, which was amazing, but he made his like more like some. I think he put like some not mojito.
What was that sauce he put that he injected into it?
Jesus. God, this is not that hard. Anyways, he injected it and tried to like kind of, spice it up a little bit for tacos, and it came out great. But
Yes.
ours were like, well, let's do it a little bit more just dress down and let the smoke just tell the story in the meat.
Right.
And
right.
and it took all day. We were gonna have it as a midnight snack, and we got back from hunting that night. And I had the headsets on, and Jody was in the other buggy. And so at one point I was like, can somebody please communicate with Jody and see if his phone is connected to the smoker? And because we were out for a lot longer than I thought.
Yeah.
And Jody turned the smoker off at one point from his phone.
Did he really?
Yeah, because Rectex, dude, they have great, technology. And so
that's funny. I actually I've had a Rectex for like 2 years before I even met all you guys.
Yeah, dude, they're amazing.
I got a 700.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And it's awesome to be able to control over your phone.
Sure. I've been on stage and I had a brisket in the smoker by the tour bus outside the venue. And during my set, looked over, saw the internal temperature and turned the smoker off. So I'm doing comedy and cooking at the same time.
That's wild, man. That's wild.
So that night we turned it off. We came back. It had been resting in the smoker for a little while. And everyone started peeling off and passing out that night. I shredded it up. And made taco. I was the only one pigging out on it for a while. And then
you ate the whole thing.
some of the guides came in when they were done putting everything away. So they all made a plate. And then a lot of the food was, the leftovers were left out, and so I did not want that to get mixed in with that stuff. So I foiled it up and gave it to the guides to eat the next day. So it got eaten. It got eaten.
It went to a good place.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it was really, really good, dude.
What did you guys do to it? You salt and pepper, or did you do some of your own seasonings and stuff on it?
I think we did a couple layers of different seasonings. We went with just a really plain like salt, pepper, garlic seasoning. And then we went with, I can't remember the second layer, but then the third layer was just my Meat Dave all-purpose seasoning and rub. And
good deal.
It's essentially all just fancy salt and pepper.
Sure.
Every rub in the world for the most part.
Yeah, right.
And I'll tell you the best part though was that I scored it up actually really instead of doing big chunks like kind of small. So that nice little fat cap that's on there, dude. Just those little fat pieces were coming off.
Yep. So crisping up.
Oh man, just pop them in your mouth. So good.
Yeah. It was like making cracklings.
Yeah. But I'll tell you the best thing I put in my mouth that whole week was the pork chops that came out tasting like basically like one guy thought it was beef. He goes, "Is this beef?" Because it was just
the copa. The
copa. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I swear by that thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, explain
that cut to people.
All right, so everybody's probably had a copa in their lives. If you've ever had a pork butt, it sits on the top of the shoulder. It's the same cut, if I'm not mistaken. It's the same cut as like a chuck round on a cow, but a cow uses that muscle radically different than a pig does. So on a pig, I think most people will agree that the best part of the pig is the shoulder, right? Now, if you're going to take the shoulder, the best part of the shoulder is that copa. It sits up on top. It's a round muscle. It's beautiful. It's well marbled. And then let's take it to another degree. And now we have the Mangalitsa copa. So now we have the beautiful Mangalitsa fat. We have the beautiful marbling that's in there. We have this rich, dark red meat. But there's something different about the Mangalitsa copa in that the grain texture, what you said, it's very similar to beef. If you were to slice it, it's like it looks like a really, really good ribeye. Yeah. But the fat is so much different than what you get out of a cow or other hogs. And, it renders at low temperatures. It's just, and it's sweeter. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. So it's a big muscle. Usually, if I were to butcher my own pigs, I can usually get a copa that's about 10 pounds. When I go through a USDA processor, my copas end up being like 5 or 6 pounds because they cut it a little bit different than I would. But they're nice enough to get this thing out for me, and it's not easy to get out. And from a USDA perspective, they don't like doing it. Yeah. So I'm blessed that they'll do it for me, and they don't I'm not going to keep pushing them for that, so that ends up going into like, that second half of the Copa kind of ends up going into like part of the loin. It's basically an extension of the loin. So it ends up being part of the pork chop and ends up being, part of the shoulder and a lot of it sadly goes in the ground. But it is what it is,
Yeah. Hey,
but it's,
you already brought it up too, man. Just for the record, on a side note, you're looking pretty yoked, bro. Like, you look like you got a couple Copas up here yourself. I think that's why it's your favorite cut, dude.
maybe.
You're relating these Mega Lisa picks.
I was, I carry around about 260 pounds, and I was a shot putter in college.
Oh, that'll do it.
So shot putter, hammer thrower in college. And I when I graduated, I was big, and I just didn't want to give it back. I was like, so I just kept working, and now, honestly, oh man, I wish I could. We were having a discussion with Ty's son, who, big 18-year-old kid, just like, just huge kid.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, hey man, you're about to get some aches and pains in the next 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Don't ignore those.
Stretching isn't a bad thing. Stretch.
Yeah.
Yoga doesn't make you a wuss. Yoga makes you be able to still do stuff when you're in your 40s.
That's right. And I train jujitsu now, which is,
probably not good for your joints and taking a beating.
It's the worst thing I've ever done for my joints. So I went into jujitsu with a bad neck and bad knees and bad elbows, and it just makes them worse. And then, combine that with a farm where I'm constantly, carrying around, 30 and 40 pound buckets all day. And thank God I don't do it anymore. But there was a couple of years where I was unloading feed bags. Yeah. I'd unload 160 feed bags, and they're 50 pounds a piece.
That's like the origins of CrossFit and stuff, dude. It's just like dudes working out on a farm, just flipping tires, and punching the side of a hog, tenderizing it.
That's right.
Was hanging it like, was it Rocky with the meat in the cooler?
Tenderizing it. That slaughterhouse. That's right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I would at this point in my life, I just turned 46 a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And if I could get my neck back, I'd give every muscle in the world that I have back to wherever it came from. If I could get my neck back, if I could get my elbows back, my knees back.
I'm the wrong podcast to give advice on this kind of stuff, but I'm sure the right one's out there. And I believe if there's a way, you'll get there, buddy, because you seem to be that kind of person.
At this point, it's I mean.
So on the topic of health, and this is probably, I'm glad that we wandered into this, because people always ask me all the time. They go, Dave, you eat so much barbecue. How are you not 300 pounds? And I could stand to lose a little bit of weight, but this is mostly beer. This is not my diet.
Right.
I do love French fries. I do love beer, and I love bread. But I'd say like the barbecue's not the culprit, because I eat good stuff. Like I don't eat McDonald's burgers. I don't eat crappy steaks that are fried in oil to make a Philly cheesesteak or something. I eat beef and chicken and pork that come from great farms like yours, and that is a healthy way to eat, correct? Even if you eat a ton of meat.
Listen, I'm not a nutritionist, so there's my CYA. But I agree with you. I'm a fan of like the carnivore-esque type of diets. Now, my wife makes the absolute best sourdough bread. Yeah. So I'm guilty of eating, carbs and stuff, but, I try to limit it. But I agree with you. I think meat is, it's been demonized. And so is fat, for that record, I mean, it's been demonized for a long time. And I feel like it's coming back where people are kind of realizing like, hey, if I want to be healthy and nutritious, I need to have meat in my diet. And I think, everything comes down to, let's not overdo it. Let's not overeat, So in my opinion, and based on the guys that I follow, it's calories in, calories out. Let's not, if you don't want to get fat, if we're gonna take fat as like your marker of health, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't overeat. Watch your calories. How much are you burning every day? What's your base caloric expenditure for the day? If you don't want to gain weight, track what you're doing. Track your macros. Your proteins, your carbs, and your fats, and you're going to maintain that. And I just don't think people today do that. I think a lot of people just are always looking for that, like, really quick, semaglutide type of fix, you know? And if you are, you are. I mean, I'm not going to influence you to change your mind, but
please do. So, and you guys are doing chickens too, right?
We do chicken as well. So we do a pasture raised, pasture fed, non-core, non-GMO, non-soy, non-core, non-soy, non-GMO feed. We do a heritage breed chicken. Usually we run Red Rangers. They're honestly a ton of work. I mean, the pigs are kind of work.
I love how you've romanticized being a pig farmer for the past 45 minutes, and now you're just like, these fucking chickens, bro.
Oh,
bunch
man.
of douchebags.
When we're raising chickens, like, I mean, it takes me several hours a day to like feed and water and move their coops and just take care of them and keeping predators out and everything eats chickens. Yeah. And we try to pasture raise everything, so it's like we got hawks during the daytime. We got owls at night, and coyotes at any time of the day, bobcats. We got fox that run through here, skunks, squirrels.
Who doesn't love a good chicken,
Raccoons, like they all eat chickens, all of them. So if they're young, snakes come in. Those snakes will eat them.
All right,
so it's like there's a lot of work.
So the number one predator on earth is the human being. And so I'll ask you a final question. Between the pigs and your chickens, how much do you eat your own supply? Because you're in the business of selling it, but I imagine quite a bit makes it into your own freezer.
Yes, very much so. And I think the biggest thing that we have kind of realized is that when we started this, we did it for ourselves. And we want to keep it that way. So we don't hold back on like, I can sell a bunch of copas. If I want to eat a copa, I'm going to eat it.
Yeah.
So we probably eat maybe 2 days a week. We'll eat, some of our pork. Another 2 days a week, we'll eat, some of our chicken. Now, when you're talking about like sausages and stuff, like, because we do several sausage links. We do 3 different breakfast sausages. We do bacon.
I would be getting high on my own supplies so much. I would be.
Yeah, right. So if we do bacon at least once a week, we do breakfast sausage probably 3 to 4 days a week.
Oh, I would have bacon every meal.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you? My boys really love our breakfast sausage, so that's really awesome. Like we before they go to school or before they go to daycare in the summertime, it's like, hey, let's get some sausage out. We'll even do like pigs in a blanket. Yeah. And let's get them some protein. Let's get them, fed before they get going with their day. Yeah, I mean, it's just a no-brainer. It's quick, easy stuff to do.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, I can't wait to come and see it for myself. Luis, what is that? The fridge?
No, there's a mechanic working outside.
Oh, there's a mechanic working outside the podcast studio.
There you go.
I thought your fridge was making noise, like listening to all this talk. I thought your fridge was like, "Yo, put some of that in me, bro." So, all right. Well,
you say there's a mechanic out there. This is kind of funny, but I looked off to my right side
to see if he was at your house.
No. I caught something on the corner of my eye over here, and one of my pigs is out of its pen right now.
Oh, is he working on a car? That would be so ironic.
No, that would be funny.
You just look out and your pig's like, your oil is a little low.
Yeah. No, it went
right.
running across the yard, and I'm like, you're not supposed to be there.
All right, well, go catch your pig, Jay. We appreciate you coming on, dude. I hope everyone goes to 840_farm and follows you on Instagram. Go check out the website, 840farm.com. And I gotta order some because I've been thinking about it and I keep putting it off, but I need to go online and order some because I'm excited for my family to try it.
Please remember, we do ship. We ship across the country, sea to sea, north, south. We ship everywhere. Insulated boxes on dry ice. So yeah, we can, if you want 840 Farm Mango Eats, we can get it to you.
That's it, dude. Cause I got a couple different beef guys that I've fallen in love with that I order from, but I don't have a pork guy that I am, I don't have a pork, outlet that I'm, loyal to. So I think,
deal, man.
I think you're going to be my pork outlet.
We'll hook you up.
I appreciate you, man. I'm being very sincere. And I'll tell you something that also struck me, is that when we were talking on the group podcast at the ranch, and everyone was talking about how much they were enjoying the pork that you brought and how much they were enjoying meeting you and just saying nice things about you and what your family's doing and kind of talking about your story. I saw you off the side and you were crying a little bit. So you're a big tough guy, but it was really awesome to see you, appreciate those kind words. And it had to be a moment of, validation for this journey that you've been on.
Yes, that's really what it was. I mean, and honestly, we can go back to early in our conversation. Yeah. Where like I did something for so long and I hated it. To hear someone say like really good things about what you're doing and about you, like, hey, he's a really nice guy, blah, blah, blah. I don't think I am, but like to say good things about what I'm doing and what I've put my life into right now is really, really, really rewarding. It makes you glow. It makes you feel so damn good. Yeah. Given that what you did before, you just despised and you hated, Yeah. So, it was because you guys didn't know I was there. I was out talking to the guides for like 30 minutes and I came in and Scott was there and he's like, hey man, there's a podcast going on, Yeah. So I just sat down and was just kind of chatting. And then I think it was Malcolm was like, did anybody know pork could be that good? Yeah. It just kind of went into everybody talking about it. And it felt really, really damn good to hear that. That's awesome, man. I appreciate the kind words that you said, what Mark said and what Ty said and what Malcolm said. You can't forget Corey, with Monarch Hunting Supplies who put that together. Totally. You can't forget him. You thank him, and it just what an event, and it was the echelon of what we did, and I really hope that we can all get together and do that again. Yeah, well, you deserve the praise, buddy. The product's awesome. The hard work that you put in shows in the product, and can't wait for more people to try it and experience it, man. So awesome. Kudos, and happy to be your friend now, bud. Awesome. Cheers, man. And I owe you a couple bourbons, so we'll hop on Zoom one day this week when hey, we'll just hang out. I am serious about coming down to Key West, by the way. Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's talk about that for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Let's sign off right now, and then I'll hit you up, and we'll definitely talk about that. I want to make that happen. Okay. So, yeah, for sure. I would like to do that. Done. Done. And I've had the blessing from my wife. It's like, yeah, let's go. Then it's a go. All right. Cool. All right, Jay. I appreciate you, buddy. All right, man. Thank you, Dave. See you, man.